What happens when the most disciplined actress in Hollywood meets co-stars who thrive on chaos? For Meryl Streep, it meant unforgettable performances, followed by an unspoken vow to never repeat the experience. In this video, we'll walk through 6 collaborations that looked powerful on screen but broke down just out of frame. From actors who pushed boundaries too far to those who left the set cold and distant, each story reveals the hidden cost of clashing methods. And trust me, the final name might just be the one you least expect. Before we move on, I would like you to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Number 1. Dustin Hoffman. When Kramer vs. Kramer hit theaters in 1979, it was the role that turned Meryl Streep into a household name. Audiences saw her deliver a performance layered with heartbreak, strength, and an uncanny realism that felt immediate. On paper, working opposite Dustin Hoffman should have been a dream pairing, 2 actors pushing each other toward greatness in a story about divorce that required tenderness and raw honesty. What the public didn't see was the cost of those performances behind the camera. Hoffman insisted on using confrontation as his method, pushing the limits of improvisation in ways that went far beyond the script. He slapped her without warning during takes, shouted off-camera to rattle her, and even drew on her recent grief to keep her unsettled. Instead of collaboration, the set became a proving ground where power games blurred into performance. Crew members later admitted the atmosphere was filled with unease, and the emotional weight audiences praised often came from Streep being blindsided rather than inspired. That experience marked her first education in the harsh realities of Hollywood. She learned quickly that protecting her boundaries mattered as much as the craft itself. Number 2. Bruce Willis. Death Becomes Her looked like pure fun on the surface, twisting bodies, impossible special effects, and a sharp sense of satire. It became known for its wild visual risks, but the environment on set was not nearly as light-hearted. Behind the glossy camp was a creative standoff that no amount of special effects could hide. Meryl Streep treated the material with the same exacting discipline she brought to her dramas. Every line was measured, every reaction thought through. Bruce Willis, on the other hand, leaned into a looser process, relying on instincts and off-the-cuff moments. The contrast sometimes froze production. Directors paused for long stretches, trying to decide how to reconcile her precision with his spontaneity. Silence filled the set more often than laughter, and Streep reportedly found the stop-and-start rhythm draining rather than energizing. When the film premiered, critics noticed something unusual. Streep's performance had bite and control, while Willis looked strangely adrift, almost like he had wandered into the wrong movie. She never worked with him again, letting her quiet refusal serve as the clearest message that not every partnership was worth revisiting. Number 3. Jack Nicholson. On paper, Heartburn should have been a perfect pairing. Meryl Streep and Jack Nicholson, 2 towering figures of the era, brought together in a story about betrayal and resilience. The film carried the weight of star power, promising sparks that audiences were ready to see. But the truth behind the camera was far more complicated. Nicholson approached the role with his usual bold instincts, filling scenes with unexpected choices that caught everyone off guard. Streep, by contrast, built her performance with precise preparation, carefully crafting how each beat would land. Instead of blending, their methods pulled in opposite directions. Crew members said it often felt like they were watching 2 entirely different movies unfold at the same time. One unpredictable and wild, the other focused and restrained. Streep herself later summed it up simply: "You never quite know what you're going to get with Jack." That unpredictability created exciting moments, but left little room for harmony. The result was a film remembered for strong performances, but followed by silence. Streep never reunited with Nicholson, showing that brilliance alone wasn't enough if the rhythms clashed. Number 4. Tommy Lee Jones. Hope Springs set itself apart as a film about intimacy in later life, requiring two performers to share vulnerability, discomfort, and trust. On screen, Meryl Streep played a woman determined to reconnect, and Tommy Lee Jones played her resistant husband. What audiences didn't know is that the same hesitation shaped their time behind the scenes. Streep approached the project wanting to collaborate closely, refining small changes and searching for ways to deepen the couple's connection. Jones didn't meet her halfway. He skipped table reads, rarely joined discussions, and met her adjustments with silence. His walls created long, quiet pauses that she filled with effort while he remained unmoved. Crew members noticed her attempts to soften the distance, but the gap never closed. The irony was striking. Viewers praised the realism of their strained marriage, sensing genuine tension, but that realism extended off-screen too. There were almost no joint interviews, no signs of chemistry outside the script. The success of the film came from that lack of ease. Yet the cost was any future partnership. Sometimes silence is louder than conflict, and Streep never forgot that. Number 5. Ben Affleck. Unlike the other names on this list, Ben Affleck never stood opposite Meryl Streep in front of a camera. That absence alone raises questions. Why put him here at all? The answer lies in a very public rift that made collaboration impossible before it even began. Back in 2017, after Streep's Golden Globe speech, Affleck dismissed her with a single word: overrated. Maybe he meant it as sarcasm, maybe not, but the remark lingered. For someone like Streep, who built a career on discipline and respect for the craft, the comment cut deeper than simple banter. This wasn't just talk either. Reports began circulating soon after about a political thriller in development. Affleck was linked to direct. Streep was attached to star. On paper, it was ambitious. But quietly, the project disappeared. No official statement, no dramatic fallout, only silence. They crossed paths at events afterward, but never side by side, never posing together, never giving the impression of connection. For Streep, silence again became the statement. She refused to feed the moment with more conflict, proving that her standards extend beyond the set. Number 6. Adrien Gier. When news of a Devil Wears Prada sequel broke in 2024, fans naturally wondered who would return. Meryl Streep was involved, Emily Blunt too, but there was one name missing: Adrien Gier. His character had been central to the first film, yet his absence stood out as more than a storytelling choice. It raised the question of why he was cut out so cleanly from a project tied so closely to the original cast. On set years earlier, Gier had leaned into a laid-back approach. He often suggested new lines, looked to riff, and searched for ways to stretch his moments. While harmless in smaller roles, this style didn't sit with Streep's exacting process. She pushed back on expanding his part, keeping the film's sharper edge intact. Behind the scenes, whispers suggested she believed too much focus on him softened the tone that made the story resonate in the first place. So when Gier voiced surprise about being excluded, that reaction said enough. Streep didn't debate, she didn't rebuke, she simply removed. And in her world, disappearance speaks louder than argument. For Meryl Streep, these difficult pairings showed a pattern that wasn't driven by personal grudges. What stood out instead was her refusal to compromise her process when it clashed with others. She didn't argue in public, she didn't trade insults, she relied on something quieter. Again and again, silence, absence, or the simple choice not to repeat a partnership became her strongest response. By walking away, she protected her craft. And when you look at her greatest collaborations, the reason they shine becomes clear. She chose them carefully, and that discipline may be her most lasting legacy.